It's a blustery day down here on the bayou. Rain all above us, but it just doesn't want to dip down and kiss us, and we could use some rain. This morning, what I'm looking at is this old Black Hawk tactical vest. And I'm not sure I don't think they make this exact one anymore. I think they make a version, but it's less sewn in and everything is adjustable, and that's good. But this is the one I was issued when I was a police officer with the United States Air Force. GS, not active duty, but I was on a flight with security forces, active duty. I was in the first Special Operations Security Forces Squadron, and this is what I wore. And I've held on to it, and it's a good piece of kit. Heavy, but a good piece of kit. And I'm sure y'all have all seen it. It's made so that it can accept a war belt also, and never wore that. But what's really neat about it is its versatility, because it'll take a 308 mag, as you see there. There's a couple of them side by side. Takes them, no problem. Or it'll take a couple of AR-15 5.56 mags. So we got 6 holes, and that would carry a lot of 308 or 5.56 ammo. But what I like to use this for is for a shotgun vest, and it's really good at holding these little cards. And these are cards you can pick up off Amazon, and they come with this adhesive backed Velcro, so that you can Velcro, or you can put the adhesive back Velcro on one thing and then attach it. I've never done that. I just use them as cards. They kind of hold my my rounds together, and they fit real good, like I said, into the pouches. And when you fill these pouches up, you got quite a few shotgun shells, and you can even get one up here into these pouches. And so I've kind of made this my SHTF kind of defensive load-bearing vest, shotgun load-bearing vest. But another thing that I've started doing with it is thinking about equipping it as a breaching vest for a breacher's kit. Now, why do I need a breacher's kit in SHTF? Well, maybe not for the reasons that you might think. I am not one of these proponents of the, free-for-all SHTF where everybody's just going Mad Max. I hope that never happens, I pray to God. But if it does, I hope to help my small neighborhood, and it's a very rural neighborhood, but to help my small neighborhood come together and defend themselves and police themselves and help each other. And that's why, and if you're one of my 5 faithful, you know that I've said that I'm prepping for my neighbors, and they don't know it. I equip for a fire team, and I'm now got a fire team plus maybe 2 fire teams worth of gear and weapons that, God forbid it ever happens, and we need to do that. We need to take care of ourselves, because there is no law and order. I would be able to get together with my neighbors and the folks around here and help them equip themselves to form a Minuteman unit or a response unit, a QRF, a quick response force, to protect our neighborhood. So the Mad Max breaching, where we go out and we attack other people's homes and take their stuff, that doesn't fit in with that kind of philosophy. But I'm going to give you 2 scenarios where a breacher's kit would play in and still follow the philosophy that I hope to follow in that kind of situation. So let me lay down on you these 2 scenarios. Scenario 1. You're 3 weeks into a total SHTF. Pick your poison. They popped a nuke over the atmosphere, and we don't have any electricity. We've been attacked. There's been some sort of major insurrection for whatever reason, crazy natural disasters, whatever. Life has come to a stop as we know it. we're without rule of law. You know, the just-in-time supply system has failed, and we are pretty much on our own. FEMA can't help you, and people are just left with what they had when the moment that this all went down happened. And we find ourselves either coming together as small communities or just falling apart. And of course, the criminal elements that were always there in society have reared their ugly heads. We all get hungry. We all get scared. And bad people, when they get hungry and scared, they lash out and take someone else's. Good people, hopefully, when they get hungry and scared, they band together and they share. So this has happened. Things have gone down and it's bad. And you're 3 weeks in. And you've noticed that a neighbor, maybe on your peripheral, has locked up and gone. You don't know where they went. Maybe they did tell you. Maybe they said, you know, we're going to my sister's house up north of here. You know, we're leaving here for whatever reason. Maybe they were out of town when it happened. But their house is all locked up and things aren't going back to normal. You're pretty sure that things are gone. The world you knew is gone. In that situation, I could see getting together with your neighbors and yes, voting on whether or not to break into that neighbor's home and take what you can find to divvy up into your neighborhood. Now, is that looting? Yeah, I guess it is. But in that situation, with all those little caveats that I've named, I could see myself doing that. In that instance, you're going to need tools because you don't want to burn the place down. You're not going to, shoot the locks off. You're going to try to get in so that you can repair it. Heck, you may even end up needing that building at some point in the future. But you're not going to try to destroy it just wantonly. So breacher's tools are going to come into play. Scenario 2. Let's say you have formed this small group together. You've got your neighborhood come together, and that same neighbor on the peripheral, he comes dragging up to your gate one afternoon, one evening, and you recognize him and you let him in, and he's towing his family and not much else. And he tells you that some criminal elements, some people he didn't know from somewhere else, just came to his place and ran him off, threw him out at gunpoint, threatened his life, took his stuff and threw him to the curb, and now he's coming to you. Well, that's when you're going to be gathering together that Minuteman group that I talked about. That's when you're going to be forming your neighborhood in a defensive posture till you can decide what to do. And yes, you're going to have to respond to that. Because if that happened to your neighbor, it's going to happen to you next, or it's going to happen to another neighbor next. And it has to be responded to quickly and with force. And in that case, you still probably don't want to burn the place up. You don't want to shoot it to the ground because you've got your neighbor right beside you whose home that is. And you'd like to get in there and either run these people off or dispatch them from your concern so that your neighbor can go back into his home. In that case, you're still going to need breacher's tools. So there's just 2 scenarios that come to me when I can't sleep that I think about. In which case I can find myself breaching into someone else's home. And frankly, being able to defend that decision. All right, so let's look at some basic breaching tools that, not crazy stuff that I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of dollars that you go order online. I'm talking about stuff that it would do you well, especially if you own a homestead, you own a little bit of land, you live out in the country. These are tools that would do you well to have now. First of all, really good gloves. Everybody needs to have a couple pair of gloves. These things, they wear out. These are wearing out right now. Look at these. I go through gloves like crazy. And it would serve you well to have plenty of gloves. I stockpile gloves. I have them put away, and with the thought that one day I may have to loan some out, have to give some away. So you got to have good gloves. Then you need some good bolt cutters. And this is my biggest pair. They're not pretty, but they work. And let's stop and talk about this for a second. This is a shroud that I made, and you'll see why in a minute, for my bolt cutters. It'll fit the biggest one, so it'll fit the smallest one. But it's just a protective shroud, and you'll see why, like I said, in a minute. So bolt cutters, they're for sure. Next is pry bars. And the biggest pry bars you can carry are going to be good. Those are going to come into handy, because the fact is, if you've got time and you're not worried about making noise, you can break into just about any house, any building, if you've got these tools right here. And then also some linesman's pliers. Not linesman's pliers, fencing pliers. Linesman's pliers are a different thing. I recommend you stockpile these. I have probably 5 sets. They really come in handy. I think I've done a video on I've done a video on fencing pliers, not linesman's pliers. Maybe I need to do a video on linesman's pliers, since I can't seem to get that word out of my mind. But no, fencing pliers are great things to have. So, this is heavy gear. And if you're on foot, how are you going to carry that? So that comes back to my breaching vest. What I've done on the back here, and this is an old Alice era vest, so you're going to see, instead of Molly attachments, you're going to see Alice attachments, is I've got a hydration bladder shroud or carrier. Just nothing special, just one of those. But it's great for carrying these large tools, such as the bolt cutters, inside them. And once you get them on your back, it's just like carrying a pack. You don't even notice it. So this is where that shroud comes into place. And this is just a big piece of heavy-duty rubber that's been taped together. And I push them in, and they go to the bottom, and that shroud is helping to protect the fabric of this hydration carrier. But do you see how well that carries? I mean, that's a pretty good fit. That's going to stick up over my head a little bit, but not much. And when you get that weight up on your back, you just don't notice it. And these guys would be even better because they're so much smaller. But you want to carry the bolt cutters for the job, or maybe more bolt cutter than for the job. If you had to, you could plastic tie or paracord this thing right here and make that fit. It'll work in a pinch, or you might just want to carry it. Also, these tools can be kind of handed out amongst the group, the squad that you're sending, the fire team that you're sending. Sure, you want your fire team to have the ability to respond to any attack, and the breacher needs to too. But you could hand these tools out. Real quick, let's talk about if you do get into a place and you're trying to get something out of there, you need to carry some bags with you. This is just some examples. You know, everybody knows the old WP bag. That's a great bag to have. But even better would be one that has some handles on it so that you can throw gear in there, whether you're finding food, blankets, medical gear. If you do end up getting into somebody's house for whatever reason, and you're there to take supplies for your tribe, for your neighbors, you got to have some bags to be able to tote that stuff back. So why did I combine my Breacher's kit with my shotgunner's vest? Here's why. The shotgun, the 12-gauge shotgun, is outstanding for breaching locks. If you're into loading your own shotgun shells, which is not hard to do, I used to do it, it is amazing the different rounds that you can create. When I was in the OD, we actually made our own shells for getting into packages. We would make one loaded with nothing but graphite, and that was for getting into fairly soft boxes. We made a water shot. What we used there was a rubber, a prophylactic filled with water, and that was for getting into even softer boxes. So the shotgun, you don't have to be doing that. You don't have to load your own stuff. Birdshot, small double-aught buck is really great for taking out a doorknob, a door lock mechanism. So that's why I combined the 12-gauge vest with the Breacher's kit. I just feel that those two jobs, that weapon and that job go well together. And there are videos online on YouTube of breaching courses, and you'll notice that they use the shotgun quite a bit for breaching courses. So I just think it's real important to talk about the ability to get in to a building, and it's important to have these tools anyway, and hopefully you'll never need them, but if you do, it'd be good to have them.